pro for martial law.
Anti-martial law ako.
Para sa akin, anti-martial law ako.
Because I think criminal rates will decrease.
Kasi kita naman natin kung ano yung naging epekto niya. Though siguro sinasabi nila na disciplinary action lang yun para sa mga Pilipino. Pero mali pa rin yung ginawa nilang action para maitama yung mga nasabi nilang mali. No?
Kasi galing ayon sa mga magulang ko, wala daw to naging magandang epekto para sa bayan.
It's been 45 years since martial law ended in the Philippines. But the period is still one of the most pressing events that the country and the world has ever seen. This is John Ebenezer El Reyes, your aide for the exploration of the martial law thingy, the misconception of the millennials in the martial law period. Social media is a hot platform nowadays. It is where millennials share their rants to the world and the stories of their lives. A privilege that was non-existent during the time of the martial law. During the 2016 Philippine national elections, social media was a buzz. People could not stop sharing, talking, tweeting, and posting. A lot of people, mostly millennials, paraded their walls and profiles their desperation for Rodrigo Duterte to win for president and Bongbong Marcos for vice president. A viral video about the face-off of millennials and martial law victims circulated the internet. A lot were vocal for their support of another martial law. Interestingly, but not surprisingly, majority of these netizens were millennials. The Marcoses have always been in the list of the most wicked politicians, having their records of murdering spree, money corruption, and societal atrocities. But despite of this, the infamous family continues to enjoy quite a sum of privileges. The late former strongman Ferdinand Marcos has been buried in the libingan ng mga bayani or the Hero Cemetery. His son Bongbong Marcos has recently joined the race for the second highest political position in the country, and the entire family lives off in a wealth still questionable by many if ill-gotten. These are some of the reasons why martial law victims and even late millennials who understand the issue continually question the justice system for the Marcoses and fight for what they think is right. To know more details about the misconception of the millennials in the martial law period, I approached Mr. Jean Michael Atanasio, Professor of Sociology.
No. Well, of course, one contributing factors are their parents and their grandparents, of course, their relatives who lived during this so controversial topic in Philippine history. Now, each of the perceptions are very divided among families and among relatives, because some people say it's positive, many are of course very negative. Well, it depends on how we look at the two sides of the coins. No, because most parents and grandparents today are very nostalgic of the times that Marcos was still in power, and that's something that we cannot blame given the current conditions of our country. Many people tends to go back to the missteps or what we call the missed opportunities of the EDSA revolution. But the sense of never forget is still there.
Yes.
Germany might be proud of its achievement. Talk to any German, they are proud of their nation. But when you talk about the World War II, especially in the rise of Hitler, they have this sense of shame. Why? Because their grandparents and their parents have thought that you should never forget the mistakes of our generation. We should already move forward. Yes, we are already done. But we should never forget what happened in those dark days in martial law. And how do we remember those? Through education, of course, for public awareness, and to see the true value and to the true meaning of the stories of the martial law era. And to, perhaps, it's a long shot, but to have a reassessment of the martial law, a continuous debate, and a continuous source of discussions among many Filipinos about the importance of the lessons of the martial law. Something, however, that is not being emulated by most Filipinos, because most Filipinos tend to forget and move on.
Millennials, born from the 1980s onwards, are victims themselves of the systematic failure of the society to impart lessons and knowledge on one of the country's darkest eras. 30 years after the considered darkest era in Philippine history, there are still developments for the evasion of and the education about martial law. Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago said she has filed a bill in Congress that would require schools to focus on discussing the martial law atrocities and human rights abuses in all levels instead of a general discussion. The Congresswoman said society in general can learn many things from the martial law era and called on the next generation to never forget the Marcos regime. Apart from the school textbooks and curriculums that whitewashed the abuses of the Marcos law regime, the continued enforcement of Marcos-era education policies also plays a role in the erasure of collective memory. Educating millennials on martial law thus means correcting insidious historical revisionism in schools as well as asserting education's role in nation building, as opposed to its current role as a commercial and neo-colonial apparatus. Perhaps we owe the widespread misinformation to the fact that there is no uniform standard on what is to be taught about martial law, thus resulting in some schools teaching anti-Marcos or pro-Aquino and others teaching pro-Marcos or anti-Aquino, but none who provide unbiased, impartial, and complete recounts of what happened then. Bongbong Marcos, offspring of former President and strongman Ferdinand Marcos, is still one of the most prominent politicians of today. Recently, he ran for the second highest position in Philippine politics in the 2016 elections. Rodrigo Duterte, the current sitting president of the Philippines, is hinting that he may declare martial law in the near future. With the rise of strongmen in today's politics, the future of the Philippines is uncertain. Whether the Philippines will once again suffer under the wrath of martial law, only God knows.